Picture this. It's a quiet evening. You're home alone, maybe watching a movie or reading a book, when suddenly there's a knock at your door. You're not expecting anyone. Peeking through the peephole, you see two children standing on your porch. They look young, maybe between 8 and 16 years old. Their clothes are a bit strange, maybe old-fashioned or just plain, and they seem out of place. You crack open the door, just a little, and ask what they want. They speak in a monotone, almost robotic voice. "Let us in," they say. "We need to use your phone." Or maybe, "We need to come inside for a moment." There's something off about them, but you can't quite put your finger on it. A strange, inexplicable sense of dread washes over you. Your instincts are screaming at you to slam the door and lock it. And then, you see their eyes. They are completely black. No esclera, no iris, no pupil. Just two solid, dark orbs staring back at you. This is the chilling encounter at the heart of one of the internet's most enduring urban legends. The black-eyed children. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving deep into the unsettling world of the black-eyed children, or BKs, as they're often called. This phenomenon has been creeping out people across the globe for decades, with countless first-hand accounts shared online, in forums, and through word of mouth. But what are they? Where did this story come from? And are these encounters real, or just a modern-day ghost story born from the digital age? Let's turn down the lights and find out. The story of the black-eyed children really took off in the late 1990s, which is fitting, since that's when the internet started to become a household staple. The very first widely circulated account is attributed to a Texas-based journalist named Brian Bethel. In 1996, he was sitting in his car in a movie theater parking lot in Abilene, Texas, when two young boys approached his vehicle. They knocked on his window. Bethel described them as being around 10 to 14 years old. One had olive skin and dark, curly hair. The other was pale with red hair. They asked him for a ride home to retrieve money for movie tickets they had supposedly forgotten. Right away, Bethel felt an overwhelming, unnatural fear. He described it as a primal fight-or-flight response that he couldn't logically explain. He tried to rationalize the situation, telling himself they were just kids. But the feeling of terror was so intense, he found himself fumbling to lock his car doors without them noticing. The boys were incredibly persistent, their voices calm but demanding. "We can't get in your car until you tell us it's okay," one of them said. "Just let us in. We're just kids. We don't have a gun or anything." It was this strange, almost lawyer-like phrasing that unnerved him even more. They needed his permission, his invitation. It was then, under the dim light of the parking lot, that he finally looked into their eyes, and he saw nothing but pure, solid black. Bethel wrote that in that moment, his mind he ripped his wallet out, threw some money out the window, and sped away as fast as he could. When he glanced in his rearview mirror, they were gone. He posted his story on an online mailing list for ghost enthusiasts, and it spread like wildfire. Brian Bethel's encounter became the foundational text, the patient zero for the black-eyed children legend. After Bethel's story went viral, similar accounts started popping up everywhere. The details were often strikingly similar. The encounters usually happen at night, often at a person's home or isolated in their car. The children, usually in pairs, appear seemingly out of nowhere. They request entry, whether it's into a house or a vehicle. They need to use the phone, get a drink of water, or get a hike. Their speech is often described as strangely formal, monotone, or scripted. But the most consistent and terrifying element is the overwhelming sense of irrational fear and dread that witnesses report feeling even before they notice the eyes. It's a deep, instinctual panic that tells them something is fundamentally wrong. And then, of course, there are the eyes. Solid black, devoid of any human features. Witnesses who let them in, according to the lore, often report experiencing terrible luck, illness, or even the death of a loved one shortly after. The core of the legend is this theme of the invitation. It's reminiscent of old vampire folklore, where the creature cannot enter a home unless it is explicitly invited inside. This suggests that these beings, whatever they are, operate under a specific set of rules. They have no power over you unless you give it to them. So, what are the theories? What could these mysterious figures be? The explanations range from the supernatural to the psychological. One of the most popular theories is that they are demons or some other malevolent spiritual entity. Their need for an invitation lines up perfectly with traditional demonology, where a demon requires consent to possess or influence a person. Their black eyes are seen as a window into their soulless, evil nature. They are seen as harbingers of doom, feeding off the fear they create, or seeking to bring misfortune to those who let them in. Another theory places them in the realm of extraterrestrials. Some people believe they are alien-human hybrids, sent to observe or interact with humanity. In this context, their strange appearance and monotone speech could be explained by their non-human origins. Perhaps the black eyes are protective lenses, or maybe they are simply their natural state. The UFO community has long discussed alien grays, and some see the black-eyed children as a different, more terrestrial form of these visitors. They need an invitation not because of a supernatural rule, but perhaps as part of a non-interference protocol or a psychological experiment. Then we have the more folkloric explanations. Some connect them to ancient mythological creatures like fairies or jinn. These beings from folklore are often depicted as tricksters who can appear in human form but have tails that give them away, like strange eyes or an inability to cross running water. They often require an invitation or a deal to be struck, which usually ends badly for the human involved. The black-eyed children could simply be a modern-day manifestation of these age-old fears about the other that walks among us in disguise. Of course, we have to consider the skeptical and psychological explanations. Could this all be a product of the human mind? The term creepypasta was born from stories just like this, one-tellies created and shared online, evolving and growing with each retelling. Brian Bethel's story, posted on the internet, was the perfect seed for a viral urban legend. It is plausible that every subsequent story is either a fabrication inspired by the original or a misinterpretation of a normal event, filtered through the lens of a scary story someone already heard. Think about it. A late-night knock on the door is inherently unsettling. In low light, it can be difficult to see details clearly. Large, dilated pupils could appear completely black. The feeling of unnatural fear could be our brain's normal response to a potentially dangerous situation, like strangers asking to enter your home at night. Our memory is also notoriously unreliable, especially when we're scared. The brain can fill in gaps or embellish details to make a story more coherent and dramatic. The solid black eyes might be a detail our mind adds after the fact, influenced by the legend we've already been exposed to. Furthermore, there are medical conditions that can cause the appearance of black eyes. Aniridia is a condition where the iris is partially or completely absent, making the pupil look huge. Severe eye trauma can also cause bleeding that fills the eye, making it appear black. While it's highly unlikely that two children with the same rare condition would show up together, it's a possibility to consider in the sea of explanations. Ultimately, the power of the black-eyed children legend does unreally depend on whether they real or not. The story taps into some of our deepest, most primal fears. The fear of the unknown, the fear of the uncanny valley, something that looks almost human but isn't quite right. The fear of having our personal sanctuary, our home, invaded. The fear of malevolence hiding behind a mask of innocence. A child is supposed to be a symbol of helplessness and purity. When that symbol is twisted into something threatening and predatory, it's profoundly disturbing. The story forces us to confront a terrifying question. What would you do? Your compassion, social conditioning tell you to help a child in need. But your gut, your survival instinct, is screaming that something is terribly wrong. To deny them entry feels cruel, but to let them in feels like you're inviting your own doom. It's this internal conflict that makes the story so effective and so memorable. Whether they are demons, aliens, a modern folktale, or a psychological phenomenon, the black-eyed children have carved out a permanent place in our collective nightmares. They are a chilling reminder that sometimes the scariest things aren't monsters with claws and fangs, but the quiet, persistent voice on the other side of the door asking you to just let them in. So the next time you hear that unexpected knock late at night, you might just pause for a second, hold your breath, and wonder who or what is really standing out there in the dark. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into one of the internet's creepiest legends. What do you think? Have you ever had a strange encounter you can't explain? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this exploration of the unexplained, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Stay safe, and always trust your instincts.